Hello, good morning. Good morning, and welcome to Designing Healthy Environments. My name is Alicia Ponce, and I am the founder and principal of AP Monarch, where we design healthy environments and equitable communities. And this morning, we are joined by Natalia Lever. She is the Latin American branch manager for the Climate Reality Project. Welcome, Natalia. How are you?
Good, Alicia. Thank you so much for having me in this space to talk about climate change.
Yes, and it's, such a relevant topic as, in our current state here in Chicago and actually, across the US, we are having interesting weather patterns where we are having snow where we normally wouldn't have it. And so we can talk about the tools and the resources that, the Climate Reality Project gives to people. We can talk about what you do and how our time to lead is now and what climate change means toward a just recovery. But before we start, I want to just say a little bit about you, share a little bit about you. So, for our audience, for those of you who don't know about the Climate Reality Project, Natalia will give us a little background on it, but a background on her. She is the branch manager for Latin America. She studied international relations, has a diploma in social innovation, and a diploma in environmental education for sustainability. In 2019, she was named one of the 30 promises of Mexico by Expansión magazine. 30 promises. I love that. What does that mean? The promises to have that, to be recognized in that way.
Well, I mean, for me, it means that our generation has so much promise. We have an historical moment. We are facing challenges that are going to decide how humanity looks like forever. So it just
Wow.
means like innovators and entrepreneurs and activists. How can our generation shape humanity?
Wow, that is inspiring. And once we get to talking, everyone watching will agree that Natalia is definitely a promise for the future and all the work that she is doing. We at AP Monarch, we design spaces that bring people comfort and joy, just quite simply, right? Because we all know what brings us comfort and what brings us joy, and then we also do that through the lens of you know um, you know, designing equitable communities. Because the more and more we do this, the more it becomes relevant that, policy is at the forefront of these plans and who's planning, right? Who's making the decisions? What is our power? You know, one lesson that I had right away with Climate Reality Project is going to your website and taking action. And by writing, sending a letter through the email, very easy form, and what uh, are politicians doing for climate change? So I did that. I filled out this form, and a day later, I got a very nice letter from Congressman Newman. She's our elected official here, and she said that she's excited for our current administration and that we are going to look into decarbonization and look at all of those policies. Really, she says she's excited to strengthen the EPA, set an ambition goal of having a carbon free power sector by 2035. It's reassuring to know we will have a climate agenda guided by science and environmental justice. So, right off the bat, this is the action that I took. This is the action that we can take. And I was just so excited how easy it was and how to start that dialogue, because a lot of times we may think we don't have, our voice isn't strong enough, right, Natalia?
Right, and that's what we do at the Climate Reality Project, helping citizens understand the power that we have in the power of the mass, the power of the group. And there's a really interesting study that talks about how just with 3.5% of any population, you can get what you're looking for. And we know that there are a lot of us that are convinced that we have to change. We have to change the situation that has put us in this context where we have record cold weathers in a lot of cities, that in Texas right now, they don't have electric power. In Chicago, you guys have been suffering uh, really extreme weathers for the last years. And these trends are going to continue manifesting if we don't do something about it, if we don't take urgent action. So, at the point that we are right now, we do need regulation. Everything that we do in our personal lives matters, but we also need to become active in our political lives, because that is what is going that is what gives us hope that we can stop this trend, and that we can assure a just and a joyful future for ourselves in
Mhm.
years, and for our children as well. So the Climate Rally Project started with that mission in mind. What we want to do is to catalyze a global solution for climate change, making action an urgent necessity in every level of society. So, as you say, we know that if you're a student, you can do something. If you're an architect, you can do something. If you're a
Mhm.
doctor, if you are a professor, if you are a driver, anything, anywhere where you are also a citizen. So your voice matters.
Right, right. And you know, the first time I think I've heard of the Climate Reality Project was, it was founded by Al Gore, our Vice President Al Gore, and watching that movie, right? The Inconvenient Truth, and it was just like, oh my God, and already I think the personally and professionally I was already on this mission to design in a way that is healthy for us, right? And is responsible. And I say it time and time again is that we do have the tools and the resources, right? And now the time to lead is now. The time to act is now, right? Can you give us a little bit of background on the Climate Reality Project and what you guys do to arm your climate leaders, reality leaders, as you call them? What do you do to arm them to move forward and face climate change?
Right, of course, Alicia. And as you say, very very good. The time to act is now. We have the technology, we have the opportunity, we have even the crisis that is in front of us, that is helping us make an important shift, the shift that we need to do. So the Climate Rally Project started back in 2006 after this amazing documentary, An Inconvenient Truth. For those who have not seen it, I invite you to see it. And what Vice President Gore wanted to do with that documentary is just to speak the truth. What is going on with climate change? How does it affect each and every one of us? Um, Back then, it was not so visible. It was visible, but it was not so visible as now. It hasn't been even 2 decades from then,
Right.
and we have seen how climate change is evolving so rapidly. So anyway, Mr. Gore had this amazing documentary, and it really generated an outcry and a movement from people saying, "Oh, I didn't know that I am suffering the consequences of something that I didn't decide, that is not even good for me, that is not making our economies thrive, that is not even creating jobs, like this development state of mind is not
Hmm.
really good for people. The majority of the people around the world are living in unjust conditions. So why are we also damaging our environment so much if we're not even getting any benefit out of it? Um, After the documentary, there was a big movement, and even Mr. Gore was awarded a Nobel Peace Prize, along with the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change from the United Nations, because of their work talking about what is going on, but most importantly, what can we do to stop it?
Hmm.
And the documentary did really well. It won an Oscar, and everyone was talking about climate change at last. Like, that's what we really needed, to people becoming active in the decision making process. So when Mr. Gore was walking in the red carpet, uh, very fancy parties, reported asked him, "So, Mr. Gore, what's next? Like, what are you gonna do next to help this movement grow?" And he just said, "You know what? I'm gonna make an NGO. I'm gonna create a movement. I'm gonna make it louder and bigger." And short after that, he started training citizens, just regular citizens like you and myself, on how to give this presentation with which he did the inconvenient truth. So, what's the basic science on climate change? How does the just energetic system of our planet functions? What is a greenhouse? Why does it matter? Where does it come from? Um, and just it comes from fossil fuels. Like, the majority of the greenhouse gases that are creating all these extreme weather conditions, also the cold weather conditions that we're experiencing,
Mhm. Mhm.
are a consequence of climate change. And so these people just started, okay, now I know the basics of climate change. I know the basics of how to communicate it. And I'm going to go out there and talk about this with my legislators, with my major, with my leaders of the university. Just, they're decision making in every level of society.
Mhm.
And we continue doing that, empowering people to know more about climate change. So there are three basic steps to becoming an effective activist, an effective leader. And the first thing you
Mhm.
need to know is to become informed.
Informed,
If
right?
you don't, if
Mhm.
you don't know what you're talking about, then how can you be convinced, and how can you know that what the things that you're proposing as a solution are true? So first of all, you need to be well informed. And gladly, we have the internet now, and we have at our fingertips all the information that we need.
Mhm.
And the second thing you need to do is to inform others. So now you know, and you have invested time and passion and question some of your beliefs. Now you have to inform others, help others become aware of what's going on. Oh, is there a refinery near my house, and the air quality is bad because of that? Also, that's why my mom got sick last year. And like, all these consequences that we don't connect to climate change.
Right. I mean, Natalia, that when what you're saying is reminded me of, the way I grew up, where I grew up. And I used to run when I was in high school, I ran track and field. And right next to the track and field was in like a paint factory, and just, emitting all of these awful, awful fumes. And we would train there, right? And we were one of the top, teams in our conference, I'll say that. But imagine, it's just we didn't question. And yes, our community was mostly black and brown and low to middle income. So that's why a just recovery is so important. Equitable community is so important, so that we can do exactly what you're saying, get informed, and then use that information to, to voice and to create change. And I go back and think about that. It's just how many people have been sick because of that factory. And there were about three factories that surrounded our community. And you see this time and time again in marginalized communities. So that resonates what you're saying, very, very deeply and personally. Another thing that I saw on your website was this, once a person is trained, there's a panel talk, a video, and there's a woman there and she just talked about how carbon has a hate footprint, or yeah, carbon has hate. And I would encourage anybody viewing this is to go, and I'll add the link, I'll do that, and to see the video and how it impacts people's lives, but now how people like you are making a difference. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, right. And we are able to make a difference, and we are able to work with this subject because we know, and someone has told us what is going on, and then we can mobilize. So that is a third part of becoming an activist. You know, you inform others, so you create a movement, you create a
Mhm.
community, and then you can mobilize. And that's what we do at the Climate Reality Project. We have these trainings, amazing trainings with Vice President Gore, where you can become informed, you can create a community because you know people from all around the world. Because sometimes activism can feel a little lonely, like I'm the only crazy person that is really passionate about this, really worried, and I'm really, like I wish someone would be doing something about it. But then you see thousands and thousands of people. We're now more than 33,000 climate reality leaders trained by Vice President Gore. Um,
Mhm.
who know about the science of climate change, who know about the injustices that it comes
Mhm.
from. Because what you're saying is very true. With climate change, as with other societal problems, those who are at the front lines of the consequences, it's indigenous communities, people of color, low income families, and other populations that have been historically marginalized. And so we see that replicated. And once we know that, like the science and this injustice part of the problem, we can just connect with those communities. Maybe
Mhm.
I am not part of the Black and brown community, but I can connect with them because I'm an indigenous community, or
Mhm.
not. I just want to take action, but we need to know who is in the front lines, who is receiving the most
Mhm.
impacts, and those are the communities who are receiving the impact. So we need to listen to them. We need to invite them to our movement and just give them voices, because that is the only way that we are going to win this battle against climate change in a fair and equitable way. If those
Mhm.
people who are living the consequences are not given a strong voice, then
Mhm.
we're just replicating a historical colonialism state of mind. Like I know
Right.
what I know what we should do, and let's do this. No, and that's in the Climate Reality Project. I'm really happy that you went to the website and saw this panel, because that's what we do. We invite not only Vice President Gore and scientists and high level people, but also the young people who are leading the movement, and
Mhm.
communities that are receiving the impacts, and the companies that are also at the front lines of just making this huge shift that we need to see.
Mhm.
So that's like the core of what we do, just education, and giving you the tools to educate and mobilize others.
Yeah, I mean that panel talk was very inspiring because there were four people a part of it, and very different backgrounds. From one was a teacher, one was a parent, right? Who is worried about his children's future, and how he started this group in his community, and it grew to the whole city, and then it grew to the state, and it was just like this ripple effect. And so it's also about changing that mindset. Earlier you said, am I the only crazy activist? And that's what the mindset is. Sometimes we have to normalize, well, who what climate change is, right? And say that it's real. It's real. And people, my colleagues, and activists, and designers and engineers and builders who believe to design healthy environments and build them in a responsible way. I They're inspiring too, because we just march on. We put our best foot forward. We put our innovation hats on, and we continue to march on because we know that there is a solution. I'm happy to share that, we have our AP Mark has we have our first international project actually in Mexico, in Aguascalientes, and we are doing this out of rammed earth. It's going to be completely new. It's going to be beautiful and, off the grid, right? Because we were able to survive like this in from the beginning. And yes, we have modern day technologies, but we can use those to be able to continue and, still coexist with nature. Because here in Chicago, 70% of carbon emissions are caused from our buildings. Um, and a lot of that is from the existing buildings. So we know that we can continue, march on, and along the way, we have to do what you're saying. We have to talk to our elected officials.
Right.
Hmm.
And just taking action at the beginning is really the only thing that you need to do. As you say, the majority of the emissions that are damaging our health and our environments and our futures come from cities.
Hmm.
And in the building industry, not only building new smarter buildings, but also retrofitting. In the
Yes.
United States, the retrofitting industry is a growing industry and is creating jobs, and it's really exciting. I mean, the climate change, yeah, it is truly um, a big problem. It is truly urgent that we do something. Like, yeah, it is true and it is sad, but it's also true that we have the solutions at hand, and it is also true that they are cost effective, and it is also true that they create more jobs. A dollar invested in a smart building is going to give you a lot more in return. For a few years from now, a dollar investment invested in renewable energies
Hmm.
is gonna come back. A lot more than if you invest that dollar in fossil fuels. So that is
Hmm.
also true. And it is also true that we don't need everybody to be doing something. We need people like everyone at AP Monarch just doing what you're saying. Just I'm doing my best and I'm putting my
Hmm.
best forward every day because Alicia, you're not alone. A lot of
Hmm.
people is doing that. We don't
Right.
need perfect activists. We don't need people who do everything. We just need people to do the best they can whenever they can, and that is enough. So because sometimes you think, oh, you know what, if I'm not doing everything, if I cannot do it perfectly, then I might as well don't do it. That's a lie.
Hmm.
uh, and just becoming informed, reading, that's if that's everything that you can do right now, that's enough. And then if you can have a conversation with your colleagues about it, great. And then they are going to feed you like, oh, you know what, that thing that you told me about really inspired me, why don't we do something about it? And you
Hmm.
are going to start seeing that the light bulbs start growing everywhere, and we can really start defending the people that need to be defended. Because right now, another aspect of justice is also that people are dying to defend our ecosystems, our air, our water. And so
Hmm.
we need this vibe, and we need this happy, state of mind to be able to support those people that are in really dire conditions.
Right. I mean, the pandemic has definitely showed us on a global scale um, how things are not just, right? Who are the people that are, taking the hardest hit? And so it has, pulled back a layer of what has already been there. And so I think, we have realized that, we see that, and again, we're going to just keep marching forward to use that information, to use this prime example to make things right, right? To make things better. You do a lot of work. I mean, not just in Latin America, but you also have the advantage to see what's happening on a global scale. Can you talk about what's happening with renewable energy? You mentioned in our earlier conversations something you're doing in Colombia. In
Right.
Colombia. Mm-hmm.
So there are three really exciting trends that are going on right now because we have this crisis, that we can really take it and
Mm-hmm.
transform the way we do things. And yeah, the first thing is renewable energies. And so, as I said earlier, the most important part of climate change is fossil fuels. So that is the main source of greenhouse gases that are polluting the earth, making it hotter, and creating these weather extreme weather conditions, as a cold weather that you have. So with the pandemic and with the crisis,
Mhm.
had of course recession, and many businesses have been seeing losses. Well, a big proportion of those losses have been received by the fossil fuel industry because they're not resilient, because they are a technology that is not competitive right now, because just its economic model, it's old and it's not efficient.
Mhm.
So a big chunk of the economic hit has been absorbed by the fossil fuels. Right now, the renewable energies are cheaper to do in more than three fourths. Is that how you say it?
Mhm. Mhm.
three-fourths part
Three fourths.
three-fourths part of the world. So we have this opportunity of, I mean, if the trend was going up, now it's going faster.
Mhm.
um, in the last 9 years, the solar energy has reduced its costs by 90%. And at the same time, the wind technology has gone down by 55-60%. So just economically, that trend is going to go just much faster. Now, how fast this is going to go, it depends on the public policy, right? And that
Mhm.
our voice as citizens is really important. We have the opportunity, and it's good for us, it's good for our jobs, it's good for our economies. Now, the other part of that is the decarbonization, right? And that's what
Mhm.
we're doing in Colombia. So
Okay.
going to renewable energies, it's a big part of decarbonizing our economies. So making sure that we are still thriving, that we still have jobs, that we still um, have growth, in a sense that just not just growing because we need to see the GDP growing, but that our ways of life are better every day.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so we can do that without depending on fossil fuels. We can do that without keeping damaging our environment. And what we have seen in the last decades is the more economic growth, the more damage to the environment. So right now, what we are working on with Colombia is just helping the departments or the states to visualize, like, how would my state look like if I wanted to just continue making the lives of my people better, but without damaging the environment. But we're having
Mm.
regenerative agriculture, with having smart transportation, electric
Transportation. Mhm.
transportation, um, green energy, and good education, innovation.
Mhm.
All these things are really helping the local communities to be more competitive and to thrive. Um,
Mhm.
so that's what we are working on in Colombia, just helping these states just to think about it and start making recommendations, very specific recommendations, and how could we get there. And on decarbonization, there are more than 110 countries that have made commitments to decarbonize their economies by 2050, and that's huge. That is huge because
Mhm.
that is really what we need to secure a future for all of us. And these 110 countries represent 65% of the emissions and 70% of the world economy. So we are on the right way. So that's something that
Mhm.
also gives us a lot of hope. And last but not least, well, the recovery plans, right? We are in a crisis, so the interest rates are very low. We have the opportunity to make big investments,
Mhm.
like, for example, in the construction industry, because we're
Mhm.
always talking about, oh, well, the infrastructure it's very costly, and I don't know if we can. Well, now is the time. Now is the time
Now
to
is the time.
invest and invest cheap,
Mhm.
and to decide what is the path that we want to take now that we have to invest, um, to just to get out of this crisis. So we are seeing trends that are good, and as you see, it involves different parts of the society. We need the companies that are doing it, like AP Monarch. We need those companies. Hey, I have the solution. We have been doing it for years. We know how to do
Mhm.
it, and it's cost effective. Uh, you know, um,
Mhm.
we have the academics. Here's the science. Here are the numbers. This is why it's smart to do it. We have the politicians, because a lot of politicians are putting their necks out there, to advance these solutions, because in many countries the population is not sold on the solutions, and that is
Mhm.
where we come in. That is where
Right.
each and every one of us come in. So we need to make sure that those politicians are working towards climate action with confidence, because they know there is a million people behind them, millions of people behind them that are saying, yes, we're going to support you. Let's do this.
Mhm.
Let's just change. Change is hard, but we want it.
I
Um,
like that. Climate action with confidence. Mhm.
yeah, and confidence comes again with numbers. And as you see, it doesn't matter where you are. You can either make a decision, you can either inform others, you can either pressure someone to make the right choice.
Mhm. What about what do you see in Europe? Let's see what's happening in Europe from from the Climate Reality Project. What is it that you guys see there?
Well, they have the green recovery, and we see that with very good eyes.
Mhm.
As with many other climate action that is taken from the policy aspect, there are a lot of things that are complicated, and they need adjustments, but they are taking the lead. In the last 4 years that the United States kind of left that power void in the international arena, um, France and Germany and even China, they took the lead on climate action, and just keep saying that a transformation is urgent and it needs to happen now.
Mhm.
Um, and hopefully this crisis is going to take us in the right direction. Now in Europe, because they are I'm sorry, a continent that has a lot of resources, and let's not forget why they have so many resources. So again, there is a colonialism story, and there is just a lot of things on the background.
Right.
Um, these decisions need to listen to those populations that have been victims of that growth. So it's
Mhm.
not enough
Mhm.
for them just, oh yeah, we're gonna just decarbonize. Well, now you have to help the rest of the world to get to decarbonization by 2050 and save our species. But I see that we are getting there. We see that a lot of good things are happening, but we just need more ambition, and more
Right.
ambition from those countries that can give it.
Right. I mean, yeah, it can be very complex, but taken one step at a time, it's not impossible. That's what I believe.
It's not impossible at all, and that is the thing, that we need
Mhm.
just to change our mindsets. Like, oh my God, climate change is not. It is. We can change it, because history has changed many times
Yeah.
in the story of our species. Like,
Mhm.
if you read a history book and you say, oh, that's the Roman Empire is never going to fall down. Well, it does. Empires fall down and things change, and
Yeah.
what makes a difference is what the people are asking from the government.
Yeah. I mean, if I had listened to the many people that told me, called me tree hugger, and why, what are you doing, what kind of architecture are you doing, or what does it mean? Yeah, you're going to recycle. A lot of people still think that it's about recycling cans, and it's not just recycling cans. Or if I come from a male dominated industry, and if I've had conversations where the man or the client says, my wife recycles, or so it's information. I just see it as information and an opportunity to lead. Once we start helping people connect the dots, and let's say, I remember distinctly a conversation of this man who owned a grocery store, and he's the one who told me that his wife recycles when I was introduced as a green architect, and I said, well, why don't you take a look around at your grocery store and tell me all of the electricity, look at the light bulbs that you use, and look at the electricity that is being used. There's an opportunity there for efficiency, not only for the way that it's used, but also in your pockets, right? And so that's when his face changed and said, okay, tell me more.
And recycling matters. It matters because it changes the way you think and that you go about life, and you behave as a consumer. But climate action right now, it's a technological disruption. We are seeing the energy, like with the LEDs, the LED industry. Like
Uh-huh.
10 years ago, they had 1% of the market. In
Uh-huh.
4 years, they're going to have 99% of the market,
Mhm.
because it's about savings and it's about efficiency. So yeah, it's the movement and the technology has grown enough not to be called a tree hugger. You are
Mhm.
a smart person if you are doing, like, why do banks are not in, are making plans to decarbonize their investments?
And for a long time, I was called the green lady, or they may have not remembered my name or anything like that. But oh, well, there's a green lady or the green girl, right? But that was now, almost 13 years later, over 13 years, we're working on really exciting and innovative projects, and just believing in this mission it's very powerful, right? And just knowing that there are the tools, there are other colleagues and other expertise that it's collaboration. I'm just fascinated by the collaboration that happens in these types of projects, working with scientists now, like really getting down to the science of how we can make a building more efficient, and not just looking at the building and the site. We look at its impacts of our neighbors, right? And the waterfront, or the 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 forest behind it, or even a couple of miles away. Like, what is that impact, what is that footprint, and is it equitable, and is it just, what is that impact, right? As we plan, as we design. And so to me, it's just fascinating, and it makes for a very just concise and beautiful solution.
And thank you for doing that, and just helping everyone that comes into one of these buildings, and just every little thing that they do walking into a space that respects nature.
Hmm.
It just changes you,
It's with
in
intent.
all of our trainings. We work with the venues, and we recycle the little trash that we generate, and we
Hmm.
buy local for the food. Just being in that space, the participants of our training say, that's one of the things that really touched me. Just being
Yeah.
there and seeing, oh, really, they take care of the how much what they have, water management and the lighting and the LEDs. Just saying, I am part of a space that is really respecting this, and it's you. It gives you the sense that it's possible. If I am here,
Hmm.
if
Yeah.
this is physically here, then it is possible.
Yes, it is possible, and that's what we do. We design spaces that bring people comfort and joy, because I think we all know what that feels like. What We know what comfort feels like. We know what discomfort feels like. We know when we feel happy and we know when we feel, you know, no joy, right? So, but that's what we aim for. So, Natalia, a couple of last questions. What, just tell me, I always love to ask people, what led you to this work?
I think it was my mom. She's a
Hmm.
very compassionate being,
Mm,
and and I think love and compassion can only lead you to care, and it was very evident from a young age that the city that I was living in was not very respectful with other beings.
hmm.
And just as long as I can remember, I wanted to make sure that we do all we can to save other ways of life, because as you say, we feel comfort and discomfort, and well, plants too, and animals too, and a river does as
Hmm.
well. So why would we have the right to make them feel those things, or even go extinct? I don't think
Hmm.
we have that right, but I do think we have the responsibility and the joy that it
The
brings to us.
responsibility. Hmm. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I think what I mean, I hope that everybody agrees. So we'll watch this, that we do have an opportunity to lead, and the time to lead is now. So please check out Climate Reality Project. I'm telling you, you can lead now by contacting your elected officials and taking action right now. It was really simple and effective.
And we have
So
a training. We have a training coming soon in the US. So if you go to our website, you're gonna see our next training in April. So the sooner you register, the more chances that you have to participate. And we would love to see more climate leaders in Chicago and around the world.
yes, thank you. Thank you, Natalia. And we hope to have you back soon to see how things progress.
Of course.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Have a wonderful day. Thank
You
you,
too.
everyone. My name is
Bye.
Alicia Ponce, founder and principal of AP Monarch. We are architects, planners, and sustainability professionals. Have a wonderful and healthy day.